Some days I just really miss expressive iteration, and I wish there was something like it in Legacy. Uh, Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. And today, Nine-Headed Hydra from Discord has asked me to brew around Flames of Anor. So, it's a modal spell. You get to choose one, draw 2 cards, destroy an artifact, or deal 5 damage to target creature. But if you control a wizard, you get to do 2 of those things instead, which by Legacy standards is usually going to mean deal 5 damage to a creature and draw 2 cards. So the immediate comparison that I would like to make is that of Kolaghan's Command, which for 3 mana is usually going to have a player discard a card and deal 2 damage to any target. Now, with Kolaghan's Command, you don't have to jump through any hoops to get your 2-for-1. You can return your Snapcaster Mage and nuke a target or whatever. And with the Flames, we do have to jump through some hoops. We're going to have to play some wizards. And by Legacy standards, a lot of times we want our good card draw spells to be at 2 mana. A lot of the things that have gotten banned, like Dig Through Time, have basically been 2 mana cards. And our good friend Up the Beanstalk, which is currently seeing more and more play, is another 2 mana source of card advantage. So the 3 mana of Flames of Anor is a little rough. And when I did my research for this deck list, I did some Googling looking for a modern deck list, and I got 0 results, which scares me a little bit. We're going to play some wizards that you're really familiar with, like Snapcaster Mage, but we're also going to be trying out Sleep Cursed Faerie today, which is a 3/3 flying ward 2 for 1 mana. Obviously, there's got to be a catch with stats like that. It enters with 3 counters on it, and you get to remove a stun counter at the beginning of your upkeep, and once those stun counters are gone, you've got your 3/3. But you can sink your mana into this card at the end of turn to untap it sooner than that. So this can be a 3/3 that you play out in the early game that will eventually start attacking for some damage, or late game when you're just both top decking, you play it, you pump a bunch of mana into it, and you've got a 3/3 in the not too distant future. We're going to be playing some actual factual counter spells today, like the blue one, just counter target spell, and we're also going to be playing some spell structure sprites. So the idea is that we are going to try to operate as a pseudo flash deck for a good portion of the time. We leave up counter spells. If we don't need it, then we feed some mana to the Faerie until we can start swinging with it. So let's go ahead and take a look at today's deck list. Now, today's video is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. and Moxfield.com. If you end up needing some paper magic cards, check out Cool Stuff Inc. and use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order. So here we go. Here's the deck list in all of its glory. This is Nine-Headed Hydra's original deck list with a handful of changes. Basically, I thought that we needed just some legit Jeskai Control cards. The original version had a couple of Nimble Obstructionists, which are wizards, but at the end of the day, we got to get people dead. And a couple copies of 4th Eorlingas are going to help out a lot. And conceptually, I kind of like Comet in this deck list. Looking at the 3 ability, when you -1 Comet, you can return a card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to your hand. Well, when we can return multiple different counterspells, or return something that will indeed give us a greater amount of value than just that, that sounds pretty good to me. So one of the things that I felt was really awkward in constructing this deck list is that you want to play Supreme Verdict or Terminus because you're a Jeskai Control deck list, but the moment we start doing that, this card instantly gets worse, and we sweep a lot of the cards like Sleep Cursed Faerie that need to accumulate multiple turns in play before they start doing stuff. Which has kind of left me in an awkward spot. I'm hoping the 6 removal spells plus the Flames dealing 5 damage to target creatures is enough that I don't feel like I'm going to fall behind versus creature decks. But that's kind of one of those things that is just setting off alarm bells in my head from early on. We are going to be a little awkward versus go wide creature strategies. Yeah, otherwise I tuned the sideboard a little bit to be a little bit better versus the combo decks that I'm expecting to see online. Let's see if we can put some W's on the board with Sleep Cursed Faerie, or if I just get really frustrated at this card and yell at the screen. Both will probably be entertaining. All right. I had to unfortunately wait an entire day to record this league as Magic Online randomly went down immediately after I recorded the deck tech. But now we're in it. We're playing Sleep Cursed Faerie on turn 1. We're not going to be doing things quite as aggressively as something like a Delver would, but our Spell Stutter sprite is going to be looking pretty hot. Please don't kill me on turn 1 before I get to untap with this. I have a family. Think of my cat, Poe. He's mostly a good boy. 3 mana off Spirit Guide. Vesuvan Drifter. Yes. Please don't randomly have like a Grizzlebrand on top of your library. Because I'm good. I just have Swords to Plowshares. Okay, cool. So we remove a counter from this. And we're going to attempt to do the Swords to Plowshares thing. And hope it works. If it doesn't, I get punished for not fetching Tundra on turn 1 randomly. But I think that is the wrong move in a vacuum. Now I don't have the sprite available. My opponent is just rolling the dice here, hoping their top card is Vesuvan Drifter. They don't even have a land to cantrip. Dodge, 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 dodge. Dodged. Okay. I expect that I win the game from here. Nice. Bulk? Just gain access to that red mana. I think I'm still going to Swords over Prismatic Ending so that I can keep the sprite available for any sort of nonsense. Okay, my opponent is done with me. Sleep Cursed Faerie, MVP. So that was a bit of a gamble that my opponent kept. I don't know that I would be brave enough to keep that hand, but I also don't know that it was wrong, you know? So I'm probably going to be looking at Bluster and Force of Negation and Pyroblast, assuming that my opponent is somewhere in that like sneak and show and tell ballpark. I'm going to imagine that Prismatic Ending is probably not at its best. Dress Down does some interesting things, but I'm not sure that I want to go that route. The Flames is very slow here. I don't know that I cut all of them because I do want some endgame card advantage in theory. But I'll probably go down to one of those. How's the Comet? Probably unnecessary. I think I like something like this. This is a Force of Will hand that can Force of Will pitching Lorien Revealed and otherwise ponder for a reasonable card. I don't think this one goes back. It's a little awkward that I can't actually fetch a Volcanic Island with either one of these fetch lands. And like that's a thing that I would very much like to do. And I don't want to use that to get Volcanic Island. Ace Swords. I'm not even sure that I want to ponder on turn 1. My opponent might be a Daze deck. I think I'm just going to play Tundra and pass. Leave up Swords to Plowshares. See what my opponent has to do here. Leaving up the land also just plays around Daze, which I don't mind. My opponent might have that card. No shuffle on that ponder. Well. Did I put these cards in my deck to cast them or look at them? Probably to look at them, given how this hand is. Past turn. Beginning next turn, I have Hardcast Force of Negation available rather than Pitchcast, which I like a lot. Alright, we're chilling. I'm just going to keep making land drops. I'm good with what's happening right now. Sure. Are you going to do like an end of my turn through the breach or something? No. That is just a shuffle for the ponder. We have Veil of Summer to potentially worry about now. Alright, back to 4 lands. Still no play. My counters are hard counters. I might end up playing Ambush Viper end of turn. Like, it's not too far away from just being another copy of Force of Negation either. All right. Yeah, I think I'm into Ambush Viper. I think I'm just good with starting to attack for 2. I can potentially ponder here. I just want to have kind of flexibility with number of blue cards in hand. And I don't know what sort of soft permission I need to be playing around, if anything. A Sprite. I think I'm willing to cast a Ponder now. Are you going to Hull Breacher me? Sure. That may resolve. I will cast Swords to Plowshares. You want to fight over this. I guess I'll fight back. I can still have Force of Will available afterwards. We'll go a blue and a red. And Force of Negation, the Force of Will. We're fighting harder. My opponent has 2 cards left. I think at this point, I just fight over it and then play Lorien Revealed as a draw 3 next turn. Not really how I thought this was going to play out, but here we are. All right. Stack clears, I ponder. I'm looking for basically Force of Will. Pyroblast is very good, but not this turn. Am I fine with that? I think I am fine with that, rather than trying to randomly spike one of the force effects just absolutely right now. This does leave a little bit of a scary window, but then I just have Ancestral and Pyroblast. Yeah, this is what I did not want to see. That is an Atraxa. Those are some good cards. Lorien Revealed. There's the Scalding Tarn, so that's gone. Archon is there. They did not take a Show and Tell. They did not take a Lotus Petal. Okay. They have Archon, Sneak Attack, Force, and Lorien Revealed. Okay. Oh, they get Sneak Attack for Archon immediately. And I'm punished for my decision to accept Pyroblast rather than looking for a Force effect immediately. Alright. So my opponent Archons me. Which means that I lose both of these cards. At that point, I guess I will concede. It's possible I fought too hard on my own turn. It's also possible I'm supposed to just, like, shuffle with the Ponder. I have, what? I have 4 hits for free counter magic. Maybe I was supposed to play my land drop prior to playing my cantrip. That way I can leave up a different color. If I leave up Pyroblast, I'm just good. Do I want Supreme Verdict for this game over Flames? I'm really trying to stop the creatures from getting into play. And this doesn't answer things off of Sneak Attack at instant speed. Could play some Dress Downs. They can stop ETB triggers for things like Atraxa and Archon. I'm going to say that this is fine. This is fine. Better versus the Vesuvan Drifter type hands than anything else. We'll just Tundra and pass. Probably playing Snapcaster Mage as Ambush Viper. But we'll see. We're just chilling for now. If my opponent has acceleration, they can go for it this turn. I don't know that they are strongly incentivized to do so. If I had any cantrip in my hand, I wouldn't just throw Snapcaster Mage into play here, but I just don't. Maybe this is me jumping the gun here, but I would prefer to start to clock my opponent. That way, when I slip like a Faerie or something into play slightly later on in this game, I already have a clock started rather than needing to start clocking my opponent with a 1/1 creature. I'm going to play another one of these in case my opponent like Blood Moons me or something. All right, Sneak Attack can come down this turn, but it doesn't look like that's happening. A Pyroblast. Or blue, blue, 1, red. Fine, playing a land drop then. Then on in, put my opponent to 16. Again, the individual hits with this matter a lot, especially when we start taking Ancient Tomb into account. Alright, it's just a land drop and pass. We're fine with that. We now have a lot of counter spells available. But some things like Veil of Summer and Flusterstorm can still mean that this is scarier than it looks. I might not actually have access to red mana with this hand. Hullbreacher's fine. All Source to Plowshares, that's not worth Pyroblasting. Especially since I am not actually drawing any cards. Okay. So let's Swords this creature. Opponent unwilling to fight over that. Sure. Send in for 2. Keep the damage coming. I don't think I Brainstorm at sorcery speed. It's basically only Sleep Touched Fairy that I would want to do. It's annoying. I am going to actual counterspell that. This is awkward for me in that if it comes down to a fight, I have to choose whether or not I hardcast a Force of Negation or whether or not I fetch red mana. All right. I think I'm going to fetch red mana here. Let's attempt to counter target spell. A Force of Will happens. Pitching another Show and Tell. At which point, I think I Force of Will pitching Brainstorm and keep Force of Negation to hardcast next turn. Let's do that. And if you have a Veil of Summer after all that, like, you fucking got me. Yep. I don't have anything to put in. Opponent has Omniscience. Sneak attack is fine. Creature is not fine. Okay, they don't fully have it. I can Force of Negation cantrips here. Just literal any cantrip, fire off a Force of Negation at it. That is fine with me. I have clocked my opponent for a very large amount of damage with this Snapcaster Mage. Just 3 more. So if I make this land drop, I can still just cast Force of Negation, and that's fine. Yeah. The rare 6-mana hardcast Force of Negation line doesn't come up a lot. But when it does, real good. That's no good for me. So my opponent has a live draw this turn. We're going to hope they draw a land or just like a Show and Tell, Omniscience, Sneak Attack, Defense Grid. Basically a non-creature, non-cantrip draw is what we're looking for. Or counterspell. Okay. Sure. I'm not technically dead to this. This is a game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This leaves me with a 2-turn clock in play. And I will need to dodge exactly 1 turn from my opponent. So it's just fully like, does my opponent find another creature next turn? I win if they don't. Yeah. What a game of Magic we are playing. Just rip 2 creatures in a row. Ooh. Okay, that's real good. I guess I will Island Cycle and find another land here. A regular Volk is fine. Let's find a fairy or some shit. Pyroblast. So this costs 4 during my opponent's turn, which is probably not happening this game. So we are just going to blow up my opponent's Omniscience. And that's relevant if they draw a Lorien Revealed. They can't hardcast that because Ancient Tomb would kill them. Alright, this Flusterstorm is dead during my opponent's turn. So we're playing the top deck lottery. Okay. Scalding Tarn, not super good right now. Force of Will. Not super good right now. I've determined that both of our decks suck. We both should concede. It's turn 14, folks. Absolutely. I'll make another land drop. Alright. My opponent makes another land drop. Legacy is a powerful format. Okay. We've got a clock. Kind of. Do you counter that if you're the opponent? Because that's surely what's in their hand, right? I guess Defense Grid works both ways, and countering is very awkward. Another land drop from my opponent. Ward 2 causes my opponent to fetch. They are down to 1. Now I can't fluster because of defense grid, unfortunately. My fairy is dead. That is a sprite. My opponent is now at 1 life. They cannot fetch. Sprite is in play. This is their turn. Turn 17. Do you draw a creature? Like, I won scoreboard, but boy, that felt bad. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, and I personally keep all of my deck lists for every format on this site. I love that I can go and sort them by types and tags if I need to. There's a lot of different viewing options. It can give you some math about your mana symbol, your curve, and you can even playtest and do sample opening hands with it. Check this site out if you haven't before. It's awesome. All right, I think I am comfortable keeping this hand. I have multiple Force of Wills and a kind of turn 1 threat, although I'm gonna have to like think long and hard about whether or not I'm just playing a Ponder on turn 1, so I'm not just dead to Wasteland. Never mind, I don't have to worry about Wasteland. I believe that I am comfortable just playing my pseudo threat on turn 1 backed by double counterspell. We are probably playing against a red prison deck list, like a Moon Stompy list. So we kind of know what sort of things are coming. JK, this is actually going to be a Turbo Muxus deck of some kind. And this is either going to get a Sticker Goblin or a Muxus. My Prismatic Ending is medium here. I'm thinking about what I'm pitching to this Force of Will. Because, like, Cavern of Souls is a thing that could happen, so if I don't force this, I might not be able to force later. I'm going to force pitching the Ponder. I might want to brainstorm away Prismatic Ending. I'm just going to Valk and pass this turn. I would like to get 1 card deeper, and hopefully not brainstorm lock myself. It's this again. Am I letting it resolve this time? I really need to brainstorm on my own turn. I'm going to let that one resolve. Alright, that is finding a name Sticker Goblin. So, end of my opponent's turn. I'll funnel some mana into this and go to my own turn so that I can brainstorm. That's not a good draw. Alright, I am fully dead if I brainstorm lock myself. Okay, good. I didn't. Prismatic Ending is out. And I think I'm going to put Scalding Tarn on top. And I can consider drawing that. There's no counters on this. If my opponent doesn't do anything horrifying, I can just draw my land and then play Comet, which I am on board with. Skirk is fine. Skirk is happening. If it's Muxus, I just let this resolve and I counter the Muxus. If it's multiple small creatures, it becomes more awkward for me to let this resolve. But if it's Muxus, my opponent just has 6 mana next turn for it. Alright, it's resolving. I'm just awkward versus like a Battlecry Goblin. So 5 mana off the Sticker Goblin. My opponent can then sacrifice, say, a Matron or a Sticker Goblin to get to the 6th mana. Okay, cool. So Ponder? I think it's Ponder here. I think I'm going to take the land that's on top of my library, even if I am just going to cast this. Let's fetch. I'm going to grab a basic island. Blood Moon is a thing that could be in my opponent's deck list. Cast? 1 mode? No. This is a wizard. Bottom? Cast 2 modes. Yes. Target player draws 2 cards. Deal 5 damage to target creature. That'll be Skirk. And then we'll Comet next turn. Ponder's fine. I'll grab another basic island here. Another Flames? That's honestly not bad, but I don't know that I want to draw double Prismatic Ending. I think I'm just going to take a shuffle there. Swords is reasonable. I'll attack for 3. My opponent is at 11 after the Shocking and Ancient Tombs. Okay, cool. Basic mountains are good. A Fable of the Mirrorbreaker. That's fine. All right, this flies, right? Yeah, this flies. Fairies fly. I'm at 14. Basics are cool. I'm going to just play Comet. I'll leave up Tundra, though. Yeah, let's make this land drop and play Comet. All right, do Comet. Comet makes squirrels. That makes me want to Swords to Plowshares this immediately. Bastion for 5, putting my opponent to 3. Ancient Tomb is technically tappable, but my opponent is in a very scary position. Ooh, Goblin Chieftain goes away. That's a pretty reasonable Magic card, but my opponent might be on kind of Muxus or Bust this turn. Yep. All right. Flames was a reasonable 2-for-1 there. Well, I guess slightly better than that, right? Like, because I drew 2 for 1 card, and then I also took out another creature. That was solid. So in this matchup, I'm gonna want this Supreme Verdict. A lot of the rest of these cards don't look particularly strong. It's kind of my main deck that's geared towards this. Dress Down actually pretty reasonable versus Muxus. I'm not going to say that it does everything that I need, but it's pretty reasonable. Some of my card evaluations are going to be weird. Like, Prismatic Ending is a terrible card unless my opponent has Skirk Prospector, in which case it is incredibly good. Sleep Cursed Fairies are really slow for this matchup. They're also going to get eaten by my Supreme Verdict. I'm going to hope that I can go down 2 threats without feeling it too much and run those. I don't think I'm going for any Force of Negations. I could, like, my opponent may have some Chalices or something of that nature. This is a very average looking opening hand. I think I'm going to try keeping this. Like, this feels a little slow to me, in that I don't have a Force of Will for some of the absolute nuts that my opponent can have. But I get 3 looks off of a Brainstorm if I need it, and then after that, I just have Dress Down that I can hold up for a Muxus turn. My opponent mulliganed once. Cool, no Skirk on turn 1. Happy to see that. I'm a talented magician. Let's play a Vista and pass, and then I have access to either Island or a white source. Is that worth a Force of Will? That card's enough of a pain in the butt that it is probably worth just Force of Willing. I'm going to pitch Snapcaster Mage despite the fact that that is a value-oriented card. Sprite is maybe not the best in this matchup, but we'll work with what we've got. It will scale up over time. Like, it will get better in theory. Ooh, we're swinging for the fences here. So that's 5 mana, 6 mana. And again, this is when it enters the battlefield, so grab a basic, cast Dress Down. Cantrips 2. Delicious. Now my opponent still just did produce a 4/4 creature. That is something that is still going to warrant a Swords to Plowshares or whatever, but we have a lot of looks to find something that takes care of that. Oh hey, a Swords to Plowshares. I don't even think I'm going to cast it this turn. I think I'm going to get hit for 4 and hold up. Well, I think a land and a Sprite go back. Yeah, I think land and Sprite go back. Maybe I just Swords this now. No, I'm gonna take a hit for 4. Yeah, that's fine. Since my opponent used red mana pre-combat, I'm pretty comfortable swordsing this on their turn now. Alright, goodbye. And now we'll go ahead and get a Volk. That gives us access to blue, and also access to red. Ooh. Is Skirk worth a Swords? Yeah, let's try to keep my opponent stuck on mana. Got Dress Down to stop a lot of abilities. Got Counterspell for anything that's slightly scarier. Ooh. Oh, that's rough. I'm going to hold Dress Down. I think that card's good. I would love to draw like a 4th Eorlingas now. Like I am now ready to try to win the game. That's a spirit guide for this activation. I could dress down to keep this from making a 1/1. That's probably fine. Also gives me looks at a removal spell to just sinkhole. Yeah. Yep. So my opponent's back down to 3 mana. I have 3 counter spells available. My opponent is at 26, so like it's not like the Ancient Tomb hurts them that much. Chalice on 1. I care enough to counter that. Goodbye. Cavern on Goblin. My hand got a little worse. Alright. A Brainstorm is now an absolutely incredible card. Well, that's not a goblin. We'll use our more expensive counter spell here. Save the cheaper one. Yes. Comet. Activate Comet. Choose a creature or player. This is for damage. So I will dome my opponent. Still holding up counterspell. That's not really the ability that I wanted to hit that turn, but it's okay. Opponent's not playing a card here, so they probably have a big card like Muxus or something like that available. See what we do with Comet. I have made squirrels. And then I think I'll just hold up the mana. I am probably going to just end of turn flames and draw 2. Or sorry, it is a singular flame, 1 flame. I have 2 dress downs in this deck, right? So I can't get another one. Yeah, I have 2. So that's always resolving. Muxus Ringleader Matron. That's not bad. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and draw 2. I don't think I want to use this as a removal spell. I think I just care about getting more cards. I've got a lot of stuff coming that I'm going to have to deal with. Or I can just fucking kill my opponent. Or they can just literally die, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do this for X equals 5. Yeah, that's really good. If that's the case, let's now play this as a removal spell and protect Comet's loyalty. Target creature. Okay. Flames is doing shit, folks. Flames is doing shit. My opponent might die this turn. Yeah. Fetch. Get a land. Activate Comet. Got squirrels. X is 5. Send creatures sideways. Okay. Alright, we're doing the thing. My round 3 opening hand just has no mana. Yeah, this'll do. I'm going to keep 1 of Comet or 4th Eorlingas, and I think I'm going to keep this for the possibility of just playing this on turn 3. I cannot overstate how good it is to just take the Monarch that early and hold it. So my hope is that I have to Force of Will exactly 1 relevant play, and then I can just kind of get lucky off some Monarch draws from there. I believe I am letting that one go. I've got 1 Force of Will here. Yeah. Gonna let that one go. Uh-huh. Yep. No, we're just hoping to Force of Will 1 relevant spell and then ride the Monarch to victory. Force of Will, Pitch Flame. Need opponent to not have a secondary thing that matters. Sprite, not the best at countering 4-drops. My opponent got some very relevant 1-drops into play in this turn cycle. Fuck. Okay. Yeah, my opponent's hand was fucking gasoline. Holy shit. I am going to counter that. Is that my ideal counter target? No. But I would like to pump the brakes on what is happening right now. And still try to get lucky with 4th Eorlingas. My opponent's life total. Oh god, it's another one. Alright. How bad is it? Pretty bad. Untap. Cycle another, presumably, land off the top of the library. And right now, Lion's Eye Diamond is effectively Black Lotus. Damn. All right, F6. Fairy is not what I am looking for, but honestly, I don't have a lot of things that I am looking for. We are just going to make a creature, attack my opponent for 3, and pray to Keranos that things go well. I am the Monarch. I do get to draw a card. However, and now a huge portion of my deck is just shut off. My opponent has Urza Saga tokens that they can make unblockable. Life's pretty bad. Like, the One Ring could also happen at any point. Sure. Couple pieces of artifact mana off the top. I'm gonna do relevant updates, because otherwise this is me sitting here nodding, going, as my opponent chains cards off the top of their library. Okay, so my opponent can still make an Urza Saga token. They are at 6 life. I may have Shadow Spear to deal with, which I don't think I am going to basically ever beat. And my spells cost 6 more during my opponent's turn. So basically, that's not great for me, in case that was unclear. So I can knock my opponent down to 5. The flying's still fine. And then I can play the Fae and funnel a little bit of mana into untapping it. If I don't... Actually, I shouldn't have done that in case I draw exactly Flames of Anor, which I did not. But I could have done that on my opponent's turn. Forgot about my Monarch draw. Alright. It is just another Manifold Key. I imagine my opponent will do some untappy nonsense. And here's the One Ring. So this is where my opponent probably spirals the game out of control. They're just going to draw cards with the One Ring, untap it a few times, and do some nonsense. Okay, this is Paradox Engine. At this point, the game is basically over. It's a little bit less true since my opponent is at 5 life. But they are basically going to be able to draw all the cards they could possibly want. And I'll update you on whether or not I died. Okay, there's my opponent's Karn. Karn can minus for Walking Ballista, and that will kill me. Not gonna make my opponent click through that. Alright. Things that destroy artifacts are great. Anyway, I want things that destroy artifacts. Dress Down can kill Urza Saga tokens. I can consider Blood Moon for Urza Saga as well. I don't know that I'm going to go that deep. And Force of Negation is quite good. That probably gives me 6 must board in cards. The Flame is good here as additional artifact disruption. I don't think I love Spell Shudder Sprite. I think that card is not going to counter the 4-drops that I need. And I think the 4-drops are what I care about. Like, that's not to say that, you know, the keys and stuff aren't important, but I'm going to hope that I catch them in, like, the Meltdowns and Friends at some point in a game. From here, I need 2 more cuts. Actually, is Sleep Cursed Fairy worse than Sprite? That might be true. Then I would need 2 regular cuts. I can cut, like, 2 Swords to Plowshares. Because I'm hoping that Dress Downs and Meltdowns kill my opponent's creatures. This is not what I want to be doing. This is probably a trap. I'm not going to do that. This is a much more flexible hand. I'll keep this and get rid of the mountain. I think I'm going to go for a Volcanic Island and ponder immediately. We'd love to find, like, Meltdown or Null Rod. Flame. Flame's, like, fine. It's an artifact destruction spell. I'm going to say that that's good enough. Yeah. No shuffle. We will use 1 of Sprite or Prismatic Ending to try to bridge to my 3 mana. That resolves. I will hope to just Prismatic Ending that. Yep. Really don't want my opponent to play a 4-drop this turn. Fuck. Yeah. That's just Liquid Metal Coating. I'm basically just dead to that, right? Like, assuming that resolves, I never get to a 3rd land to flame. My Sprite never outpaces Karn. So I have to ponder for Force of Will. And if I miss, I basically concede. Nope. Yeah. That's just it, right? Like, I can Prismatic Ending that key. I lose one of my 2 lands. I get another draw. I don't have anything that kills Karn at 2 mana. Yep. We just lost to that. Alright, I've kept a reasonable hand here that has Ponder, Dress Down, Force of Will, a bunch of land. I think I'm going to get another basic island. Nah, I don't have to. Let's just Ponder. I don't know exactly what I want for the matchup, so I'm not going to be looking for something narrow like a Swords to Plowshares. I'm probably going to be looking for generic 2 to 3 mana bridge cards or a win condition here. And that's none of that. Prismatic Ending is a 2 to 3 mana bridge card. We're happy with that. I also think you can make an argument to just pass the turn and not cast that Ponder at all, and that's maybe better than what I did. Sure. Retrofitter Foundry. We're probably playing against ninjas. I am just going to Prismatic Ending that. It's a little awkward if my opponent plays an Ornithopter right afterwards, as that is just a 4/4 creature. But that is happening. That is a respectable draw. Let's take out this Retrofitter Foundry before it does any more effective damage to me. Making 1 4/4 creature is already great value out of that card. I definitely got punished for not Force of Willing, but I knew what was happening. That Brainstorm's fine. This fetch clears. And I'm going to have to find something that deals with this 4/4. I'll probably end up... I don't want to Force of Will that. I'll probably end up using a Dress Down in combat on my opponent's turn. That's just a 5 damage card if I'm willing to just whack this. I'm going to pass the turn. I think I want to have Dress Down available to stop some of the nonsense that could happen. And this is my plan B, or if I don't feel like I need to stop nonsense. Alright. Are you going to Ninja? You're not going to Ninja. That's fine. So we'll go for an end of turn removal spell. Notably, if I use the flames on this, I almost certainly give my opponent card draw, which I don't want to do right now. So I was willing to take the extra damage to play around that. The board might be clear enough that I just cast this on my turn. I think I'm down for that. I do think I cast it for 2, which plays into Daze. And we will send in with both of these creatures. If I send in with just one, I am not actually blocking this. And I just kind of hope that my Force of Will can buy me some time. I'll probably use this Force of Will very aggressively. But some of the things that my opponent can do... Oh no, absolutely not. Force of Will, pitch, Dress Down. Snapcaster Mage is very good right now, because Snapcaster represents a couple different removal spells from the graveyard. Note that I can be very close to dead this turn if my opponent, like, Yurikos me. This puts me to 7. Alright, cool. Foundry's scary. This is now a 4/4. Don't love that I'm going to have to think about Bowmasters this entire match. Murderous Cut. Sure. Hard for me to take back the Monarch this turn. I guess that does it. This is an instant, right? It is. So, Snapcaster Mage. So, attack. My opponent makes a 4/4. Then I Snapcaster Mage, destroy target artifact, 5 damage to a creature. Alright. We've got a plan. Oh no. Fetch. Island. Snapcaster Mage. Target Flame. Destroy target artifact, 5 damage to target creature. Destroy target artifact, 5 damage to target creature. 3 mana. The world's most savage counterspell. Not this time. Hamburglar can't steal this win. Half my audience is cringing. The other half approves. Oh! That's a hell of a draw here. Got my opponent on a 3-turn clock with counterspell backup. Probably good enough to force. Like, I can force more aggressively than normal since I am just drawing a whole bunch of extra cards. It's possible that card was a bait card, but I think I'm just going for it. Can't block and is unblockable. Send him. Opponent's at 7. I will use 1 mana for this. That's largely positive. It just takes me off of hardcast Force of Will specifically if I draw one, but I've used 2 of my 4 Force of Wills already, so I think that's fine. Alright, Monarch draw. B Swords to Plowshares. That's basically Swords to Plowshares. I think I'm just in. Cast. I would like to draw 2 cards. I would like to nuke this creature. Bam. Is this card actually good? Like, maybe not Legacy good, but this is surprising me. That's fine. Oh, cool. Yeah, I am in for that. We'll Swords this creature. We'll hold up Sprite. And I will have lethal next turn. On set 4. Feels good to be the Monarch. This is also a decent sized Sprite. Okay, that's just a land drop from my opponent. Let's go ahead and untap this once. That removes a stun counter. I don't think I drop this. I will just let it remove a stun counter naturally. Then I'll normally untap it. And at this point, we play around 1 removal spell, which conveniently is the number of cards in my opponent's hand. That was a hell of a showing for this deck. Very glad that I did not drop my mana on my opponent's turn. Bowmasters would have been a pain in the butt. So I'm going to start by thinking about what I don't want in my own deck. Dress Down has some text. I don't know that I'm more interested in that than I am just a traditional removal spell. The sprites don't feel very good when I'm on the draw, I don't think. I think I'm going to keep these. They block like things like Ingenious Infiltrator a little bit better. And I'm going to board in some amount of this stuff. Verdict is great. It's just going to clean everything up. I think I like Null Rod for just being an answer to every single copy of Retrofitter Foundry. Then I think I do Meltdown and 2 Pyroblasts, and I just think about whether or not I want to Wear Tear as 1 more removal spell versus just another counter spell. I think I do. I think Retrofitter Foundry is a really big deal for me. Like, the generic tokens will grind me out, and Retrofitter Foundry on board is a way to stop 4th Eorlingas, which is the way that I want. Yes, which is the way that I want to steal this matchup. I'm going to keep this hand. It is slightly awkward in that I don't have blue for counterspell right now. I'm hoping that doesn't matter. That resolves. I will Swords to Plowshares that. And I'm just thinking about whether or not I Swords to Plowshares that immediately, or whether I wait to try to get a ninja. I'm going to fetch Tundra now. And I'm just going to attempt to take this out without giving my opponent another look at a Force of Will. I can try to get a ninja, and it's really high upside for me if it works. But I'm kind of trying to bait my opponent into playing a Retrofitter Foundry so that I can just drop the Null Rod on them. And that was successful. Alright, so we don't have to worry about Retrofitter Foundry basically ever. And now we are just hoping that my opponent does not play a creature this turn, and I can drop 4th Eorlingas. Alright, we got some work to do before we can just go to town. Let's try to ponder for a Swords to Plowshares. Pyroblast will work. Pyroblast won't work! Oh. Or no, Pyroblast will work. I just have to ponder first. Awkwardly. Okay. No shuffle. Ponder. Take the Flooded Strand. Fetch. Grab the other Volk. And Pyroblast the Yuriko. Cool. Now, unfortunately, my opponent has lots of good plays at 4 mana, so we might end up in a similar position to last turn. Okay, my opponent is Brainstorm locked. I have a really tough turn here. Like, I can just pedal to the metal 4th Eorlingas and introduce the Monarch to the game. My opponent can do something like play Orcish Bowmasters, and then I get the first Monarch draw. They'll take it back, and then I can try to Swords to stabilize. Or I can just do it for 1 and hold up Swords to Plowshares. I can also just not and just hold up Counterspell. I think I'm supposed to hold up Counterspell. So I'm just going to drop this Fairy while holding up Counterspell and Swords to Plowshares. And then I'll feel safer doing this next turn after I see whether or not I have to deal with a flash creature. And I did not, at least not immediately. That was a shuffle. We end up in the same situation as last turn. I'll go ahead and untap this once. Now it's possible there's still an Orcish Bowmasters over there. Ooh. Now I just tap out for this. That's fine now. And we'll do this for 2 so that we can play around a single removal spell. Hydroblast. Force of Will, pitching Counterspell. Ooh. Are we fighting more? Another Hydroblast. That's very good for my opponent. Understood. You may have your second one of those. I think you're supposed to hold that for Brainstorm. I will play this. I will untap this. Send in for 3. Bring my opponent to 16. A Snuff Out. Sure. So at this point, we're looking to draw Comet, the other copy of 4th Eorlingas. Did I put Mystic Sanctuary in this mana base? No. It's in my draft and I ended up taking it out. This is fine. I'm going to just pass the turn. I don't think I have to play that right now. Now I will. Do I want 2 looks at a counterspell, or do I want to blow up 1 Retrofitter Foundry? I think I would like to try to high roll here. Target me, go bam, bam. Or I need to do that differently. Alright, tap the mana like that. Hate pitching this, but yeah. We'll force that, because by giving up the 2 cards here, I get rid of Brazen Borrower and 2 copies of Retrofitter Foundry. That's fine. I was hoping to draw actual factual counterspell there. Sure. Also fine. Okay. No counterspell, please. Orcish Bowmasters would also be pretty bad, but I gotta just go for it. I'll play the fetch land so that I'm actually holding up Swords to Plowshares, and then I'll pass the turn. Yes, that is fine, and I'll wait to untap with more mana. Hey, I'm going to drop this land. Just remove Yuriko now. We have Force of Will available. Again, looking to draw Comet or 4th Eorlingas and start turning the corner on this game before my opponent draws their way out of it. I'm going to hold that land. All right, we're playing Draw Go. I guess I'll hold that one too. I do have soft permission like Flusterstorm to think about, but I'd also like my Brainstorms to be good. Ugh. We are staring at each other. I'll do this now. I think I have enough very strong plays that this is worth doing. Yes. We're going to put back Wear Tear and 1 land. I'll make a land drop. Fetch. Don't think it strongly matters which one of these I pick. Gonna grab another island accordingly. I am just gonna pass the turn. Snapcaster Mage for 4th Eorlingas is pretty cool, but I think I'm probably gonna end up snapping this back. Note that I know that Snapcaster for this is a thing that I could do, but that's a sorcery, and this is an instant. So let's attempt Snapcaster Mage. Snapcaster targets Flame. Do this with 2 modes. I'll draw 2 cards. I'll also destroy an artifact. Draw 2. Nuke an artifact. Bam. Cool. I don't think I need to Brainstorm immediately. Yep. We'll send in for some damage. Put my opponent to 14. I'll drop a creature for 1 mana and hold up a lot of different interaction. That's fine. I think I'm gonna Brainstorm to just kind of clean up this hand a bit. I'm going to get rid of Wear Tear and a land. We'll go ahead and fetch. Grab an extra white source. And then funnel some extra mana into this. 1, 2. And I think it's fine even doing the last one here. Just so this fully untaps during my opponent's turn. Like, I don't care if they cast an Orcish Bowmasters here. They're going to Murderous Cut my creature. I don't even think I care. Like, it is a very respectable card, but I've just got better things I can do. Is this the 4th Eorlingas just go for it moment? So, Snapcaster, 2 mana, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. With Force of Will backup. And also take the Changeling Outcast out of play. Yeah, let's... Opponent still just has 4 cards, though. Let's start here. I don't know, I just don't feel like I have to go for it. My opponent probably has narrow cards in hand that they can't just cast, and that means things like Flusterstorm. Yes. That's fine. I think I am interested in an end-of-turn Brainstorm. Oh, those are good cards. We'll put back land. We'll put Comet on top. I'll Snapcaster Mage. Target Swords. And we're just gonna keep my opponent's creatures out of play, resulting in a pretty strong board for me. I'll attempt Comet, which avoids Hydroblast and Flusterstorm. 0 Comet. Make Squirrels. Send in for 6. Damage is successful. I think I play Sleep Cursed Fairy. I think I am fine pitching Supreme Verdict to Force of Will. I do not intend on ever casting Supreme Verdict with the way the board currently looks. Oh, that's fine. I'll Swords that. That's not worth the Force of Will. I'll also untap and just play Swords while I have more mana. And funnel some mana into this as well. This deck is much better than I thought it was going to be. Alright. Activate Comet. More Squirrels. Land drop. Untap this creature. If my opponent blocks a Snapcaster, that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 total damage, which is lethal. So they have to make the first move. I still think I just Swords this out of the way. That's still just fine with me. Send in the crew. And that kills my opponent. I believe we're now 3-1 with this deck. I'm really happy with this. This opening hand is a weird one. So, I have Plains, Island, Mountain, 2 removal spells, and the Monarch. I'm going to keep this hand. I keep this hand knowing that this hand is Stellar versus a creature deck, and absolute big poo-poo versus a combo deck. So we're hoping for favorable pairings here. Polluted Delta has me scared. Could very easily just be something like Doomsday, and I have a 0-card hand. Okay. Yes. The good news is I can Prismatic Ending away a Lotus Petal. The bad news is everything else, absolutely everything else, is horrible. I don't think my opponent was necessary. Well, Daze exists in this format. Like, there are reasons to play out Lotus Petal first. Do I show them that I drew this land? No, I don't think so. Against Underground Sea and Lotus Petal, it's probably safe to grab non-basics here. Goodbye, Lotus Petal. Cool. I think my opponent is also probably supposed to sacrifice that, so the Lotus Petal goes to their graveyard. This could mean they're at their Doomsday, and they care about their graveyard less than something like, say, Ant, that cares about Threshold. Also could be my opponent making a mistake. Alright, no land drop. My opponent is Brainstorm locked, so they're going to have to manually draw back through those 2 cards that they just put back. Okay, I mean, that's a Magic the Gathering card. Is it my ideal draw right now? Absolutely not. And it might cause me to make a more awkward play with a fetch land, or sorry, with like a cantrip in a minute. Ooh. Okay. So my opponent should be trying to go off right now because they know I have this other prismatic ending. Yep. So I imagine this is going to be like Dark Ritual, Beseech. Okay, 3 Dark Rituals. Oh, Infernal Tutor. Yeah, my opponent not sacrificing the Lotus Petal was an objective mistake earlier. All right, now it's Beseech. This is going to find Gaia's Will and kill me. Okay, or this works too. You Beseech for Beseech, and then you Beseech for Tendrils, and that gets to lethal. Okay, I mean, exactly what I said would happen happened. Where we were great versus a fair deck and terrible versus a combo deck. The Prismatic Ending did something, but this was not the hand, the deck we were looking to beat with this hand. All right, I have a lot of cards that I can board in. So I am always going to want Force of Negation and Flusterstorm. Those cards are very strong. I'm always going to want Null Rod. And then these 5 cards and Pyroblasts are going to fall into a tier 2 of cards that I can board in. Dress Down always comes out. Swords to Plowshares always come out. That's these first 5. Tapping out for Comet is scary in this matchup. I'm going to rely on my other creatures here. Flame destroying artifacts is very relevant at instant speed. These 5 are in. I think I'm going to go down a Fairy and go a little heavier on the artifact hate. I think I have to keep a critical density of my wizards so that my flames are good. I'm not sure if I want to mess around with the graveyard hate. My opponent, very explicitly took a line that played around graveyard hate and didn't go for, Gaia's Will. They didn't have to. Let's say this is good, and I can reevaluate Surgicals and Pyroblasts next time. Nope. I know I have Force of Will, but I'm not keeping a hand with just a basic mountain. This is fine. The Sleep Cursed Fairy is really slow here, but it turns on both sides of this, which I like. I'm keeping my hand. This is a 3-mana hard win condition. Maybe I should view it as such and just not play this. If I put this back, I can hold up Brainstorm on turn 1 to be better versus a Thoughtseize effect. I think I'm good with that. Notably, as of right now, this needs to be basic mountain if I want to have access to both of these cards. All right. I'm going to Brainstorm end of turn because hitting a Null Rod or a Meltdown or something is really strong right now. Let's see what we find. Force of Negation, Snapcaster Mage. I'm nowhere near ready for Snapcaster Mage. I'm going to put that back, and I'll put, Flame back. And just redraw Flame. And then I'll pass the turn. Since I have red mana now, this is no longer locked into getting Mountain. I guess slightly awkwardly, I don't have double Counterspell available this turn. Maybe I should have buried the 4th Eorlingas. Carpet. Yeah, you don't get that. I sort of force of Negation this to send it to exile and not graveyard. Draw flames, blow up this land. A little aggressive. I think I like it. Maybe it's worse than just force pitch flame, draw Snapcaster Mage, 4th Eorlingas. Sure. Yeah, I might get punished for not putting back 4th Eorlingas. Opponent might just go off here. Yeah, that's 4 mana. Yeah, I'm going to get punished for not putting back 4th Eorlingas to keep 4 blue cards in my hand. That's Beseech. There's not another artifact in play, though. Okay. You have to play out stuff from graveyard. Am I missing something? Where's the other artifact coming from? Can Infernal Tutor? Oh, okay, there's Infernal Tutor there that was discarded. Yeah, okay. No, this is 1 mana short of lethal that way. Yeah, how is this winning? Infernal Tutor. Did I punt this one and my opponent punted it right back? Yeah, my opponent punted that one right back. I messed up first. They messed up worse. Okay. So, when I'm on the draw, I'm, like, not super interested in this card, I don't think. When I'm on the play and I can just, like, play it before the fear is in me, I think it's fine. On the draw, I just want more interaction. So I can take some surgicals to mess with those lines, and I could play, like, one Pyroblast or one Rest in Peace. I'm not the biggest fan of Rest in Peace because I am a Snapcaster Mage deck at the end of the day. I could also just keep one of them. It's still a blue card for Force of Will. I could also just play the Comet. The Comet is going to clock faster than Sleep Cursed Fairy on average. I'm just going to play one more interaction spell. Win eventually, somehow. This hand's dead to a Thoughtseize. It's also dead to my opponent just going for it on turn 1. This hand's very respectable. I'll keep this, getting rid of 1 flame. My opponent goes to 5 cards. Probably not where they want to be. They are bobbling themselves to see kind of whether or not they want that card. I'm not gonna, like, fire off a fetch land in an attempt to take that card that they want or anything. They can have it. That's not how I'm planning on using this surgical. Land pass. Sure. Carpet's annoying. I almost want to surgical my opponent to see what their land looks like, to their hand looks like, to see like how good this carpet is. I think I let them have it. Like, the card's very good, but I just think with Prismatic Ending existing in my deck, and the fact that I can fetch a couple of non-island basics, I think it's okay for me to not go after that immediately. Alright, we're always yielding to this carpet. I am playing Ambush Viper. I would like to start getting some damage in so that I have easier ways of actually finishing this game. Ooh, that's not bad. I do have to play another island here, I think. I think holding up Hardcast Force of Negation and Hardcast Flame, like, I think both those things are good. No carpet. Cool. I'll draw 2 then. Only 1 mode. Target me. Take some cards. Those are good cards. Yeah, perfectly happy with this. I'll attack for 2. Opponent's at 15. This can be a mountain. I don't think I need to ponder. I think I've got plenty of other stuff to do with my mana. We doing stuff yet? We're doing stuff. 4 mana, just hard beseech. I could just fluster this at this current mana value. I can also hardcast Force of Negation. Let's use an expensive card here. Actually, if I fluster it, I can then Surgical Beseech. Let's do that. I think I'm just going to do that now to inform my decisions. Surgical, target Beseech, totally worth 2 life. The Beseeches are gone. My opponent's hand is incredibly weak. So my opponent notably has Song of Creation as a way that they can win. Okay, there's no Cabal Ritual in here. So the Lotus Petal going to exile earlier was fine. Sure. Is my situation strong enough that I can just play Sprite? I think so. Like, we are in turn creatures sideways mode. Yep. Opponent's at 12. I can ponder while still holding up a counter spell. Another Sprite is great. Yep. I have 4 counter spells in hand. Suspend guy as well. This is acceptable. There's 2 more carpets in the deck, but I think I just need more blue mana. Let's pick up another island. I will hold this Sprite. I don't think I need to get greedy. Bam. Attack for 3. Opponent's on 9. I think as long as I never drop 2 counter spells, I probably can't lose. Like, weird fringe things can happen, but generally speaking, this hand is incredibly strong. That ticks down. Yeah, this game's not about mana. You got it. I don't even think I have to play this Brainstorm. Like, my opponent is dead on board. They can Echoing Truth one of my creatures back to my hand, but those are good creatures. Also, I have a gajillion counterspells. Yep. 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 Yep, no carpet mana or anything. We're good. I'll counter the Echoing Truth, and my opponent's dead unless they drew an Abrupt Decay. I guess I'll use an actual counterspell on that. Bam. Folks, that is a 4-1 finish for the old Flame of Anor Faerie deck. Honestly, this deck slapped. This was one that I didn't build from scratch. I got a really good starting point from our donor. And I think I tuned up what Nine-Headed Hydra sent me quite a bit. I still think there's room for improvement here. Like, I have questions. So one of the things that came up in one of the rounds is, like, should I have Mystic Sanctuary in this deck list so that I can fetch up another copy of 4th Eorlingas when it doesn't work the first time? I think it was in one of my original drafts. I don't remember if it was one that I made or Hydra made. And I ended up taking it out, rationalizing that I frequently would not have the 3rd island because I would be getting plains and mountains somewhat regularly with, like, a Prismatic Vista mana base. But I might just have been wrong. Now, admittedly, I think we also played some literally 17-turn games in this league, so there were some abnormally long matches. So, like, let's keep that in mind. I think the biggest thing that this league showed is that 4th Eorlingas and, like, Lorien Revealed are just very good Magic cards. Like, Lorien Reveal drawing me 3 in one of those games was clutch, and 4th Eorlingas absolutely let me do some silly things, especially versus the Ninja deck where I just took the took the Monarch on turn 3 and then held it forever, and that let me hemorrhage resources really well. But ultimately, compared to another Jeskai Control deck list, I would say that this deck list is slow. Snapcaster Mage is something that often is a turn 3 and beyond play. And I frequently ended up using it as Ambush Viper because it's a little awkward, because if you want to set this up as, like, using both modes of it, you do need that wizard out early. Sleepcurse Fairy did some work sometimes, and other times it was a slightly slow and awkward card. Sprites were okay. I don't know that I would give them any better than okay, and playing something like Sprite in a Bowmaster world is definitely awkward. But I liked the things that were at my disposal here, and I had a lot of fun playing this. I do think I ran a little hot in order to end up with the 4-1 finish in this league. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, we definitely dodged some scary draw steps. Folks, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, throw me a like, throw me a comment. That sort of stuff helps out a lot. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. And if you end up needing any Magic cards, check out Cool Stuff Inc. and use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order. All right. Have a great rest of the day. See ya.